back to my channel, The Grim Reader. I am Kathy Grimm, the Grim Reader, and today I wanted to talk to you about my reading conniption that hopefully I am past. So I was sort of thinking, is it a slump? It's not really a slump though, because I want to read and I'm enjoying what I read. It's more having an issue with having not being able to do everything I want to do for reasons to do with who I am. So I think it kind of, I mean, it's been going on for a while, the issue of having a lot of time on my hands, unstructured time, still some work stuff to do or just stuff I want to get to other than reading, but suddenly being thrown into this situation where you can basically read what you want, and you'd think that would be easy, and for some people it is, but not for me. So let me see where to begin. So first off, I wanted to talk about the big DNF. Well, big because it's a big book, and it's been sort of on the horizon. But I'm DNFing my audio, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and that's already helping with the conniption part. Because I wasn't, when you're sort of almost hate listening to a book, or you're just listening to it to finish it, not because you like it that much. It dipped over into I really don't want to be listening to this. I just don't think. I think my main issue with the book. So the characters are not compelling or nice or interesting. I'm just thinking about how emotionally invested I became in something like Clarissa. Oh my gosh, it was so great. Even the side characters were more interesting. Or Dickens, like even his side character. And here the main characters are not interesting. And so on top of that, I don't think the plot pulls you along. It's not plot driven enough. It's very episodic, which would mean it would lend itself to shorter. I was thinking, I just had this thought that it could be a really delightful graphic novel where everything's illustrated in a very beautiful way. And then you could then the stories might be more sort of charming, but just all stuck together in this big long book that doesn't really seem to be leading anywhere except telling us these adventures of these two rather unlikable characters who are magicians. It makes Harry Potter look like great works of fiction, which they're definitely not. I don't know. I maybe overstating things a little bit in terms of how great Harry Potter is and how terrible this is, but it's just not doing it for me, so I'm setting it aside. Goodbye. Oh, and so I'm coming back to the other audio that I had and that I sort of put aside because I had this idea that I would be able to read it and that I would prefer reading it, but I've decided no, I really do like her reading her own prose. I'm used to it. She has a hypnotic voice and she's such a beautiful writer. This is essayistic prose at its best, where you get a lot of information but with a light touch, and you find out a lot about a lot of things, and you can go do more research if you want to. It's wonderful, and I'm so glad I went back to listening to it, because it's like I love listening to it as I was cleaning the kitchen and sweeping the floor and doing all that mundane type of stuff, because it's all about Orwell and his investment in the everyday, so to speak, and his whole life in general. He's such an interesting character, very sympathetic character, and a sympathetic portrayal of him too. And then she sort of weaves it in with observations about walking to his little village. She just had this wonderful passage where she's walking through the English landscape, and for an Anglophile, this is just beautiful prose. And she talked about how it's actual bread and roses, because she's walking through the wheat fields, and then there's roses as well. And beautiful writing, and also quite personal, and that's charming too. She's a great person, a very interesting person. I want to find out more about her, so I'll probably be reading more of her. So I'm glad I'm back to that. Let's see, what else do we have? I'm also still, so the book that I finished, and I'm not ready to do a sort of full review of it even now, is the second volume in Pilgrimage. So I finished Backwater, which was absolutely amazing. And part of this also kind of caused part of the conniption, because I spent a lot of time on the last 46 pages because I was reading it in the library, our local library. It was the first time I'd ever spent any amount of time in the library, and it was sort of like distracted a little bit about looking at the books. For some reason, I was drawn to the large print books, because with my age and my eyes, I was like, oh, a nice large print book might be nice. I'm entering into my large print era, perhaps, but actually like a book, not on Kindle. And so it took me a while to finish it, and it kind of sent me down oh my gosh, I'm such a slow reader which is silly. Because I really enjoyed reading it and making little annotations and writing things on post-it notes about what I want to say about it when I say something. So looking back, me getting upset about taking a long time to read the end of it is just silly. But it's what I do sometimes. It's the conniption aspect. And so to prove to myself that I could be a fast reader, I quickly downloaded a novel by Lynn Steger Strong, whose first novel, I think it's her first novel, Want, I had really enjoyed quite a bit. And I downloaded her second novel, Flight, that I know Sonia from Enthusiastic Reader has already read. And it was okay. But I did read it in like 2 days. So yeah, sure, I can read fast if it's a very breezy. I mean, it's a family get-together type novel, so you're dealing with a lot of different characters and names, and keeping them all in your head is quite challenging. That's the main challenge of the book. The prose was adequate, and the characters were okay. It's sort of interesting because it's sort of like they kept talking about the mother who, it was a book about grief because they were all mourning the mother's passing. And she, as a character, never came into clear focus for me. She was a strange one, even though she'd obviously played such a strong role in their lives. But that could just be, I don't know why exactly. I didn't get a strong feel for her, even though they sort of tried to do that. She was trying to make her seem like this interesting person. Actually, one thing I remember, I thought I had a lot of, I remembered, it made me remember another book I'd read some years ago by Stuart Onan called Wish You Were Here, which is also a holiday book, but it's summertime, and they come to this summer cabin and they rent, these two families, or the matriarch is still alive there, and then all of them are coming, and she's just lost her husband recently, so the father is gone, Henry, and I have to say that one was better, I think. So if you want a sort of family get-together type drama, I think Stuart Onan is actually a really good writer. I really enjoyed Emily Alone more than that one, and Emily is in this one in Wish You Were Here too. It's the prequel to Emily Alone, and I really liked Emily Alone because I think he's a good writer, and Strong is still finding her voice. So my sense of the Flight novel is that I wouldn't be surprised if it turns into an HBO movie or Netflix even. It had that kind of sort of screenplay-esque quality to it. So quite a bit of plot, which would lend itself to a TV show. And sort of somewhat deep characters, but not that deep. And the prose was also, not that memorable. So good for a TV show. Although, we just finished watching Succession, which was actually a really well-written show. That's one of its main strengths, I thought, was the text, the writing. The dialogue especially. So yeah, Strong. The Flight was okay. I think I gave it 3 stars. But I proved to myself that if need be, I can read quickly. But it's just silly to be focusing on speed and all that stuff. But that's part of my conniption, is that I fell into doing that. I am continuing to It's still on the docket. I haven't given up or anything, but it's slowly. The new ping is still there. And so another part of the conniption was just the gap between what I want to do and what I'm able to do, or what my brain is able to do right now in this moment. And for that reason, I think I'm setting aside the Divine Comedy, even though I really wanted to read it. But it's just so fraught with me wanting to check up everything and needing to check up to have it more contextual. Because to just read it, without all of that, I could still do that. But for some reason, with this one, I really want to know exactly where it's all coming from. And looking at the different translations and all the stuff that's online about it, it's just there's a lot online. And even this edition's good, but in a way, there's another edition that sort of starts out with how to read, how to approach, and that's kind of what I need, how to approach Dante. And so maybe get a different copy. I don't know. I still really want to read it, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen this summer. We'll see. Putting it aside for now. And so then what happened was I watched Mark Nash's, one of his videos about recent reads, and there's a book on there that the Grim Reader has to read, and she actually already bought it. Where did I put it? I have it here. So this is it's sort of meta, sort of postmodern-esque, sort of fake non-fiction read about this actual person, Joe Grimm, which is a pseudonym or fake. It was the pseudonym for an Italian boxer whose claim to fame apparently was that he could endure a lot of pain and could not easily be knocked out. He wasn't good at winning fights, but he was very good at enduring being a punching bag. And as Mark's really good review of it, I thought, kind of hones in on the sort of the metaphysical aspects of someone who can endure pain. And as someone who has to endure a fair amount of pain with my chronic issues, nothing like being a punching bag, but I'm interested in pain. And also kind of literary discussions of it. It says here on the back, pain is often said to defy the limits of language, and yet Grimish suggests that pain, physical and mental, is also the most familiar and universal human condition, and perhaps the secret source of our impulse to tell stories. Now that's really interesting. Kind of reminds me of one of the things I'm dabbling in is my interest in Buddhism. All life is suffering. So yeah, and I've already started but I don't know if I'll be able to really get into it right now. I think I might, and I like it, and because of listening to Mark's review, I know that it's going to get more meta, and I'm okay with that. I kind of like when I like a certain amount of, I can endure a pretty fair amount of not postmodern shenanigans in my fiction. I mean, I even like the few pages of Finnegan's Wake that I read once on Twitter, but see there too, every line I was looking around for what does it mean, and then it's sort of the sense of, okay, that's really interesting, and I don't think this is anything that difficult, but also, it's a book that takes place in Australia about someone called Grimm, and I was born in Australia, not that I have anything to do with boxing or anything. I also think it's a nice kind of, it balances out the fact that I read a lot of women's writing, or sort of the associations that we have socially with women's writing mid-brow. And I think it's kind of interesting to come at it from the other side and read a book about men and boxing and all that good stuff. Well, not good stuff. I'm not sure how I feel about boxing, to be honest. I mean, I think Mark talks about this, the fact that it's a sort of, what does it mean to be a man, masculinities, questioning brute violence, brute force, and the silliness of all of that. And yeah, I was just looking on the internet. Another rabbit hole thing was this. Maybe I'll post a link to it. I haven't watched all of it yet, but it's a bunch of British university professors and scholars, PhD students, who do research on the manosphere. So the red pill people who's the only thing I don't really know. I know about the basics of red pill stuff, but what intrigues me, or just find sort of interesting about, it's all very podcasty. It has this look of a podcast. So whenever you click on their videos, oftentimes they're interviewing women who they've kind of coerced somehow to get on their stupid shows, and they have their headphones and they're right close to the microphone talking about how they're not one of those women. They're not one of those, oh my gosh, feminists. It's very. Just the feel of the vibe of it all is very interesting in the manosphere, but it's absolutely appalling. And but I do want to watch this video, kind of giving where does it all come from. So this culture of the red pill, blue pill. I mean, these sort of aspects of the internet that have led to these, and the thing about the manosphere, Jordan Peterson, all of his ilk. So many young men, of course, fall for it and just get sucked into this take on the world, and it is sad. It's very sad. Not all of them, but more than you might think. And we sort of need to have a good counterweight to all of this stuff. And so I'm interested. And as someone, I'm interested in masculinities and all that stuff to a certain degree. So that's why I'll read this at some point. Maybe I will start it. I'll see how things go. No pressure. That's the whole thing, is no pressure. And also the epiphany that for me, I need to be calm so I can be focused. If I'm not calm, I can't be focused. And that's where all the distraction and the conniption type stuff comes in. I had started because I was really sort of floundering around for my next read. And I decided I would just go for a complete comfort read, which for me is Trollope. And since I had this next one, the first Palliser novel on my shelves, I thought, well, maybe I'll do this. But then, because of I dip into this Discord of these not all, but mainly youngish men, although I think they're different ages, just a Discord from a YouTuber. And I do like dipping in. I like the discussions they have. They're very sort of, they read what they want to read. And I like a lot of what they want to read. And they were all talking about German stuff, Kafka, whatever, and then showing up their English translations of The Man Without Qualities, which I had started to read once, but now I'm kind of feeling this is the time. Also, I kind of think I always like to have a German book on the go, and I don't have one, haven't had one recently. And there's so many options. Like there's Thomas Mann that I want to read, but I thought, well, what the heck? Now is the time to try again with this really amazing work of modernist fiction. So this is written in the 30s about, I think, the 19th century. This one person, I don't know that much about it. I don't remember that much about it, but I started already, and the prose is very, very interesting. Very kind of long, weird. The way he describes the city is very interesting. It's almost like he's describing it as if there were a drone, but this is like before drones. So, and the prose is very, very of a very, what's the word? It's poetic's the wrong word, but it's good. It's very, very good, and very and quite complicated and long sentences, and it's obviously written by someone who's interested in style. It's just and so that's right up my alley. I'm kind of sad because my copy has a big crease down the middle. Silly, but so that's my big read for right now. This will take me a while. This is over 1,000 pages of very thin, for people who are stationery freaks, Tomo Rivers style paper. It's very thin paper. That's why it doesn't even look that much, but it's over 1,000 pages. So this will take me a fair while. It'll take me, maybe even into the fall. We'll see, depending how I get along with it. And then, I'm not sure if I might put the trial up on hold until later on in the year when Victober comes along. So yeah, that's where I'm at with my post, coming out of a reading conniption. So it's not a slump, but a conniption and an inability to hone in on what one wants to read, and it's sort of a frustration with the fact that one wants to read more than one is able to. But I hope I'm coming out of it and we're all good. Thank you all for watching, and let me know what you're reading, and I will talk to you very soon. Probably maybe there'll be another Summer Diaries entry at some point, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.